Checking connection.
Okay, let's give that a go. There we go.
Okay, we're telling your followers that you've started.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Hear me now? Right, okay, yeah, mate, I'll tell you what. Storm's got this stuff under control. She just flick. She got all this stuff going on, and I'm just like, what the... what's going on, you know? Like, oh, my gosh. Oh, mate, I feel like an old dinosaur, eh? Good job I could build, because I definitely not a women Google expert, that's for sure. But anyway, let's crack into it. What's that? No, I'm not only up to question number 1 at the moment.
Yeah, just apologise to Facebook because there was no sound.
I'm sorry, Facebook. We had no sound there for a bit, so probably good job I was only rattling on anyway. Well, and guess what? You haven't even missed any questions, so we're good to go. Number 1. Hey, look at that. You're just in time, so let's crack into it. Okay, I'll start all over again. Can we add to your solar package? Okay. Long story short, yes, our solar package, we actually include in our standard solar package a 5 kilowatt inverter. With that, we, depending on the inverter that we put in, whether it's in series or in line with the solar panels, sometimes we put a bank of 3 solar panels, sometimes we put a bank of 4. At the end of the day, you get the same amount of juice. It just depends on the inverter that's available at that time from our supplier. So what we do is, so from there you can actually add more solar panels. So in banks, either in banks of 2 or in banks of 3. And with our batteries, at the moment with our standard solar package, we actually supply the 220 amp dry cell batteries. The reason we do that, a lot of people say, oh, why don't you put lithium and, you know, Elon Musk, whatever that stuff's called, you know. But, you know, we want to give you a solar package initially that's affordable. At the end of the day, you can always upgrade your batteries, okay? So you can upgrade from your dry cell batteries up to your lithium. Personally, I think the lithium can be a little bit overrated, but hey, I'm just old school, and to me, it's I know dry cell batteries. I know they're good to go. If one of your batteries pack it in, you just buy another battery off the shelf and plug it into the system. It's happy days. But in short, you can add more batteries, so more lithium, whether it be dry cell or some more battery storage, and you can actually also add more solar panels. So, but what I've also said to my clients is that we can put $20,000-$30,000 worth of solar panels in your gear, but you're still only as good as a sun that's shining. Now, if the sun's not shining, the weather we've had in the last 8-10 months, heaps of rain, heaps of cloud, so you're only as good as the sun that's out. If the sun's not out, well, you're not going to get heaps of energy out of the sun because it's not out. So what I recommend then is actually spreading the risk of having our standard solar package and then topping that up with our smart generator. So that way you got the best of both worlds. You've got 3 or 4 days of heaps cloudy, heaps rainy weather. You're not getting the juice that you need. The generator will kick into gear and you're up and running, you know. So we had an incident this year with our solar package. Our one of our inverters weren't speaking to the generators because all this technical stuff. I mean, I'm learning heaps. Don't get me wrong. I don't confess to be an expert, but we had a situation where our inverter wasn't speaking to our generator. And it's like just one speaking Chinese, the other one's like receiving it in English, and they're just not communicating, you know. And it was driving me insane. I was just run ragged trying to sort this issue out. And unbeknownst to me, our supplier actually changed. They'd upgraded, unbeknownst to him, over in China or Asia somewhere. They changed the format of the inverters, and it just really threw a cat amongst the pigeons, you know. So what we had to do, so ultimately what we've done now, we've actually bypassed the middleman. So our generators now are speaking directly to the batteries. Loving it. It's just like all of a sudden it just cuts out the middleman. Okay, so we're going straight from the batteries. The batteries are telling we've got this a relay. Okay, so in between the batteries and the generator, we supply a relay. So rather than going from the batteries to the inverter to the generator, we're now cutting the middleman out, take the inverter out of the equation when it comes to the amount of volts that are in the batteries. We're going straight from the battery to the generator. Okay, so then we've got this relay now that the batteries talk to the relay. You set the parameters that you're after. For 12 volt batteries. It's 48 volts. You can set it at about 46 volts. So when the batteries drop to 46 volts, the relay knows what's going on and it tells the generator to fire up. The generator fires up when you set a top line. So when the batteries are hit their 50 volts, it'll automatically turn the generator off. So a lot more foolproof, a lot less headache, and we've only just introduced this, and I'm pretty sure we just about got it sorted, but it seems to be working very well right now. So it just really cuts out the confusion, and like I said, cuts out the middleman. So great system, loving it, and a lot more foolproof, Number 2, does your loss get bigger if we go to the 8.2 model? Well, yes. So what we do, as you're aware, our homes are 3 metres wide. Our larger homes are all 3 metres wide. So what that means is if you go for from our standard 7.2 long model up to our 8.2, the lofts upstairs, the second loft upstairs, we actually double the size. So it goes from 1.2 to 2.2 to 2.4 if you're required. But bear in mind, what I like to do, so when you walk into our homes, which the doors are approximately around about the middle of the home, I like to walk into this straight away into this 4 metre ceiling space. Now, if we make our lofts too big, I mean, we can make them bigger, but what you're doing, as you can appreciate, as you walk into the home, if you make your lofts too big, you actually minimise the airspace as you walk into your home, which means that initial walk into the home, you don't have that wow factor like 4 metre ceiling height because you've encroached it too much. So I do like to maintain around about 2.8 to 3 metres in between lofts. So as you walk into the home, 2.8 to 3 metres wide, bam, 4 metre ceiling height, and you've still got great size lofts on each side. Our main lofts, they operate around about 3 metres, 3 metres big and 2.8 metres wide. Our second lofts, 1.2 up them to 2.2 to 2.4, which, mate, it's massive. Like it's a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom house. It's huge, So, yes, the answer to that question is yes, our lofts do increase in size up to a point. My recommendation is. Number 3, how long does it take when we secure a Havenwood Tiny Home? At the moment, obviously, our start dates for the year well and truly gone. We're into about February, March next year for our start dates. As mentioned, I like to give people start dates rather than a completion date, because in between starting our tiny or securing a tiny home with Havenwood, we don't know what's going on in the world. For instance, right now, our kitchens are full for the year. So models that we've actually started, that I've even pre-ordered kitchens, because the kitchen companies are that flat out with work and then struggling with staff and whatever. What's happened is that pushes us out. Now, not because we can't build the home in time. It just purely comes down to we rely upon our contractors, our suppliers. If they haven't got the goods, we can't finish your home, and I'm obviously not going to deliver a home if it's not complete. So it's a bit of a juggling exercise at the moment. We're working with our contractors. We've actually now got employed, 2 of our staff members are cabinet makers. So if push comes to shove, we actually buy our kitchens in flat packs, and our boys can actually put them together and install them into our home. And that just helps us stay ahead of the game. So it's really helping the cause, But bear in mind, our kitchens just aren't Bunnings kitchens. These are all custom kitchens. I mean, there's up to 8 linear metres of cabinetry in our tiny homes. I mean, that's huge. And there's a lot of weight in that as well. So that there's about 1.2 tonnes of kitchens go into our tiny homes. So once you go from our 7.2 model up to our 8.2 model, we've actually got to flick over to the Pro Light kitchens. That saves us about 300 kilos, and which means it still keeps us underweight. So when we transport our homes, they're all still legit and able to get through all the weigh bridges without any hassles, Number 4, do you ever build tinies not on the trailer? Yeah, as you're aware, our larger homes are actually the trailers are separable from the tiny home itself. So we've got a registered trailer carrying an oversized load. So ultimately, we try to maximise the height of our homes, which is 4.6 metres from the ground. Okay, so when we transport the home, 4.6 is the ultimate. We don't want to go any higher than that. I mean, we can do that with a wide load permit, but it's just too hard. There's too many restrictions where you can go and where you can't go. It's just too hard. So we stick with our 4.6 metres. And the home itself is under 6 bolts. Jack the home up, and you can actually take the trailer away, and then put your tiny home on stumps or concrete pads or anything like that. If you want to, so if you want to get it approved as a house, we've got a few clients coming through like that at the moment that are doing exactly that because they don't have on their block of land. They've got a house permit, but they can't afford or don't want to spend $400,000 or $500,000 on a house. So they're actually using our tiny homes as the principal place of residence. And as you may be aware, if there's no house on a vacant block of land, you can't just go and put a caravan on it in most instances. So, which means they need to put a house on it. But if you can't afford a house, that's where Havenwood come into the picture, because our homes can get approved as a principal place of residence. So, which means, and where was I going on that? Yes, that means our trailers can be removed, so they don't have to. The trailer doesn't have to stay with the actual tiny home itself. Okay. Number 4. Can you tell us about the new design? I know I sort of throw this around a bit at the moment. I've got to say I'm pretty excited because the structure of this home is actually now complete. During the week we had a couple of clients were looking at some other homes in the factory, and they just happened to look at this. What would you call it? Home? You'd hardly call it a home. Anyway, this we'll call it a tiny home under construction, and they're looking at it going, wow, what is that? What's going on? And I said, listen, you're not allowed to take any photos, and definitely don't tell anyone about this yet, because I'm hoping to launch it, to put it on air before Christmas. In short, when you talk tiny homes, this is way outside the square. It just doesn't even look like a tiny home. So it's just totally different. It'll blow you away. I'm loving it. When the Lord gave me the concept and the idea, it's better than what I thought it was going to be, so I'm pretty excited. But what I can say, it's got a floating queen size bed in it. Wow. LED lights, mate, it's all going on. I'm loving it. Number 5, can I fit a king size bed in your main loft? Actually had this conversation this week with one of our clients. They want to put a queen size bed upstairs. Now, as you're aware, we're 3 metres wide. So that's the exterior of the home, is 3 metres wide. Internal size is 2.8 metres. Queen size bed is 2 metres and 30. So once you have like maybe a hallway or where you're walking into the room where your main bed is, and then you've got your king size bed that's 2 metres, you've got 200 millimetres left over. You've got the walkway of about 600 mil, king size bed 2 metres 30, at least you're 200 mil. I mean, it's near impossible to walk around the bed. As you're aware, I like to design all of our homes so a queen size bed is like an island bed. So you can actually walk around the bed. So when it comes time to making your bed, fitted sheets, you can walk around the bed and put your fitted sheets on, But a king size bed, that's pushing the boundaries. I mean, hey, it'll fit no problem, but then all of a sudden your bed is actually pushed up against a wall because of just how big it is. There's 2 metres wide and about 2 metres long, okay? So that's a massive bed. I mean, it fits and works, but it's not my preferred when it comes to actually making the bed, because I'm a practical sort of a guy. I like to be able to walk around the bed, to be able to put the fitted sheets on and stuff like that. When Shani and I are making the bed, it's easy. We flick the sheets and dunk, it's easy, Not that we're living in a tiny home, but I'd like to be able to do it easy, because, you're doing it every week, changing your sheets. It's like you just want to be able to do it easy. You don't want to be doing it on your knees or whatever, trying to crawl into bed and put your fitted sheets on. Just too hard. Number 6, can we connect your tiny home to a septic tank? Well, yeah. Okay. In short, all of our tiny homes come standard semi-off-grid, okay? So they're semi-off-grid, which means your home, we set up like a grey water system, okay? So they come standard with the compost toilet. They come standard with a pressure-on-demand rainwater pump. They come standard with gutters, so all you got to do is stick a rainwater tank beside it. So the pump sucks out of the tank and then actually supplies water into your home. The only thing you need to do extra over and above that is put our solar package on top if you want to go totally off-grid. So what was I talking about there? Septic tank. So if we know you're going to connect to a septic tank, we'll put a flushing toilet on it, which means, and we set up the plumbing, so it comes down to the one outlet, and you've got a 4-inch outlet. All the rest of the your laundry and your sink and your kitchen and whatnot is all connected to the one line, and a flushing toilet. So then when you get to site, you just got to connect the 4-inch line into your septic tank. So, but we like to know that prior to commencement, so we make sure we set up the plumbing accordingly to make it easy for you at the back end. You know. So, number 7, where do you mount your solar panels? At the moment, we mount our solar panels on the roof. As I've mentioned, we can do. If you're in an area with just heaps of trees, there's just where you want to put your tiny home. You're just not getting the sunlight. We'll set up the solar panels actually on stands, so you put them a bit further away from the tiny home, and then and with the low voltage cable comes to the tiny home to actually juice up the tiny home, okay, for power and whatnot. To me personally, because I'm trying to. Everything we do, we try to keep it as affordable and cost-effective as we can for clients. With your solar panels, you really only got to set them up once. In short, we do mount them on the tiny home. However, if you have an area where it's in the heaps of scrub and bush, you don't have the sunlight, we'll put the solar panels on a stand outside into the sunlight and in a low voltage cable across to your tiny home to actually juice up your tiny home. So we can do the trailers. I mean, to me, it's an overhead cost you don't need to do because it's just a trailer. I mean, just put the solar panels on a stand. I mean, once you do it, you're not moving it around all the time. But ultimately, we find our preferred is to put the solar panels on the tiny home. So if you're ever going to move your home from on your farm or move it from one farm to another farm, if everything's all intact on the tiny home, inverters, batteries, solar panels, you just move your tiny home and it just keeps it simple. So really easy to do, eh? Number 8, I'm looking at putting a tiny home in a high wind area. Is there a way of securing them down? Well, with our tiny homes, because early in the piece when I got into tiny homes, what I found was a lot of our tiny homes were going into areas that were high wind areas. People wanted to maximise the views. They're up on top of mountains, they're up on top of hills and all that sort of stuff. So hence they're going to be potentially exposed to high wind. Initially when we build our tiny homes, because we live in a high wind area here at Jamboree on our farm where I started building the tiny homes on the actual farm itself. So what we've actually put into place in our tiny home, firstly we have mounting the tiny home on top of the tiny home frame. We actually supply on each of the 4 corners of the tiny home. We actually put a 150 by 100 mil angle from the tiny home base all the way through to the roof. So and that's bolted in at the base. Okay, so we actually bolt the tiny home down to the base, and because our refrigeration panels are actually installed horizontally, okay, so we only need to support each corner of the panels on top of the roof itself. So from there we've actually got 4 hold down bolts that are welded on the tiny home that you can actually secure into the ground. Henny May, we've got a question for Henny May. What do we need to do to prepare the site for delivery? Sleepers. Okay. What we like to do, early in the piece I said to people, listen, just give us, it doesn't matter, you can put them in the paddock, put them in the grass and whatnot, but with all the weather we've been having, a couple of our deliveries have we've had a shocker, you know, it's just been a mud heap and it's just made it hard work for us and our guys to actually deliver and secure your home to the ground. So ideally, if you can level a pad, we're actually telling people now, you actually got to level a pad, bung a bit of road base on it. So when we get there, we're not crawling around in the mud to try and level your home. But if you've already got the road base down, what that means when we actually mount the tiny home on top of your base, what that does is it means when we set your home up level, within QE, it's going to keep to those levels. There might be a little bit of settlement, but in most cases, it won't move much. It's just a wind of the jacks a little bit here and there, just to tweak it a little bit, you know. So ideally, flat level pad, 3 or 4 inches of road base over the top, and then if you we've got an optional extra in our Google there, so we can actually, rather than just rely on the 4 2-ton jacks on each of the corners of our tiny homes to actually level the home. If you're in a more semi-permanent position, we actually recommend that you actually jump on our treated pine sleeper foundation, which means we jack the tiny home up, we put the sleepers underneath, we level it all, and we lower the tiny home down on top. So we're probably taking about 70% of the load of your tiny home on the actual sleepers, not relying on the jacks and not on your wheels, okay? So we only leave about 30% of weight on the wheels. So next time you go to move your tiny home, your wheels aren't shot and your springs aren't shot, you know? So it just means it's, and it also stabilises the actual tiny home itself. I have another question over here. Do we stake it into the ground with chains? Okay. Stake, I'd probably upgrade it more than that, because stakes aren't going to hold 4.5 ton down. So if you're in a high wind area, you talk 130k gusts winds coming through, stakes aren't going to cut it. Okay, so there's a few different things you can do. Initially, before I knew about them, was we do like a 300 mil diameter hole, auger it into the ground, throw in some concrete, put some 10 mil chain into the wet concrete, so, and then it sets, drive the tiny home on top, and then you can actually de-shackle the chain, the tiny home down into our welded hold down lugs, which are already pre-done on the tiny home. So you can put a de-shackle on it and just secure it into the ground, you know. Like on our farm here, we've got one down the front. I mean, we've had 130k winds through here. Mate, it hasn't budged. It's just rock solid, works perfect, you know. Since then, we've found out there is a product on the market now called earth anchors. Okay, so you can actually secure your tiny. These guys actually, which is probably about the same cost, it's about 2.5 to 3 grand. But what these guys do, they come out to site, they actually drive the earth anchors in. They actually give you a certificate on each of the earth anchors. I think it's around about a 4-ton uplift on each of the anchors. So, man, it's going nowhere. And it's a lot less effort. These guys just come in with the machine, drive these into the ground. It works the same sort of principle as I think as an anchor on a boat. It goes into the sand, and just as you pull it, just grabs on the sand. You know, this is the same underground. As it drives into the ground, and you try to pull it back up, it actually opens up, and then of course then you got to lift, you know, 3 or 4 ton of dirt that's on top of it to actually get the anchor out of the ground. And the beauty of that is, if you're ever going to move your tiny home, just cut the chain off and it just disappears. So that's a great little system. So earth anchors, we can either set that up for yourself, or you can organise that yourself with your own contractors, you know. So you better check them out on the Google. Where am I up to? Okay, I'm a startup builder. I've been tiny. How can you do it? Okay, looks like we've got a young guy here. He's just starting out as a builder. He's starting to crack into the tiny home industry, which is awesome. And I love hearing when the young might be old fellas like me, old dinosaurs, you know, want to crack into the industry and start building tiny homes. And a very important question, I reckon, straight up, how can we determine weight? Because especially if you're going to start going into this commercially and delivering these around the state or around interstate, weight is a critical factor. Okay, I can't emphasise that enough. And you've got to come within reason of your weight limits, you know, because otherwise you're going to get smashed, and you get smashed, it just doesn't help the industry and it doesn't help you. So I reckon, personally, straight up, I'd be going for a smaller model, straight up, like a 2.4 model, maybe around that 6.2 metres long, 2-storey high, work on those weights because most people are building from steel trailers. I mean, we build from structural aluminium because that's where we save all our weight. Because a lot of people ask us, how can we build our such big homes and we stay under the weight limits? Because we build from structural aluminium trailers. Okay, so we save about half a ton. That means I can pump that into the size. We build bigger homes because I've saved half a ton of weight in the actual trailer itself. But a lot of people start off with the steel trailers, which is great. It's still structurally sound and all that sort of stuff, but they're just a lot heavier. That's the biggest thing with the steel trailers. So I start off a little bit smaller, get your home finished, take it over your weighbridge, check it out, make sure you're on the money, because the last thing you don't want to start out and weigh yourself straight out of the market straight up, because nothing's going to deflate you anymore than knowing that you've invested all this money into a tiny home and you've just, you've really limited your areas where you can actually deliver it. So I reckon start off something a little bit smaller, get it on the road, get it built, get it finished, get it weighed, see where it's at. Personally, what I do, we actually get a mobile weighbridge in because ours are a little bit like you can't actually take our house across a weighbridge because they're too wide. So I actually get a mobile weighbridge in. You can do that whichever state you're in. You just get on the net, check out the Google mobile weighbridge. The guys will come to you, put the scales on the ground, you pull the tiny home onto the scales, check out the weight. But the beauty of getting the mobile guys in is that not only are you getting your wheel weight, but you're also getting your ball weight. Super critical when you're setting up your balance of your homes. Ideally, the actual recommended, preferred, and the best weight on the ball is 10% of the overall gross weight. So we're talking 4.5 ton trailers. Around that 450 kilo is the optimum weight on the actual ball itself. Now, bear in mind, I've spoken about this before, the gross weight has to be 4.5 ton, not just on the wheels and you bung 1.5 ton on the ball. It doesn't work like that. The overall gross weight has got to be 4.5 ton. So ideally you want about 400 kilos on the ball. That means your wheel weight's probably around about that 4 ton to 4.1 ton or something thereabouts, is the optimum size. There's no real science to this. I think once you get into it, once you crack into it, you get a bit of a feel for it. And hence, because we've built quite a few homes now, so I've got a bit of a feel of weights and distribution and what's going to work in regards to the final result, because we get all the homes that are going outside the area, I get the mobile weighbridge in. So I'm confident that if we get dragged, well, we've actually got to go through the weighbridges. So because we've got a GVR of 16 tonnes, so we've got to call it in anyway. And so I've got to get it right because we don't want to stuff up our delivery because I've got an overweight trailer. And in short, you can't get a permit for an overweight trailer. Okay, so don't think, I'll build it overweight, I'll just get a permit. No, it doesn't work like that. You can't get a permit for an overweight trailer. You get a permit for over height, over width, but not overweight. So just keep that in mind if you're a startup builder, Where I'm up to. What is your biggest homes? Well, at the moment, we're on the floor, we've got a 9.2. So this is our biggest home we've done, 9.2 by 3 metres. Okay, so we're talking, what's that? About 28 square metre footprint of our tiny home. I mean, this is huge. I mean, you walk into this is it's like a granny flat. It's like just massive. It's just huge tiny home. This one's actually a disabled tiny home. Okay, so we've got the master bedroom downstairs. We've got a hallway and a walk past bathroom. Of course, it's a disabled bathroom, and then you've got your kitchen and lounge room. And then we just got on this one here, I've just opted for one second story only on the on one of the one loft, okay, because we just want to really keep an eye on our weights, make sure we don't, because this one's going out of the area, it's going to go across the weigh bridges, so we've got to make sure we get our weights right. So from this one here, we'll be able to determine if we can go that little bit extra in regards to doing the full 2-story on the 9.2. Personally, I doubt it, but we'll see how we go. Okay, number, where are we up to? Wow, number 10. Does your solar package add much weight to your tiny home? Okay, well, the solar panels themselves, if we go for our, whether it be our 3-pack or a 4-pack solar panel, depending on the inverter, The solar panels themselves are only about, they'll only be 10 kilos each, I suppose, each of the solar panels. So that's probably only about 40 kilos for the solar panels. The inverter itself is probably only about 10 kilos. Batteries, the dry cell batteries, they're heaps heavy, man. Each battery would have to weigh 40 kilos of battery. So we're talking 160 kilos. So I guess the overall solar package at the moment is probably around about 200 kilos. But what I'll do if I'm going outside the area, we'll actually disconnect the batteries, put the batteries in the truck itself, and when we get to site, we just rehook up all the batteries, because that's where most of the weight is in the actual dry cell batteries. Lithium batteries, half the weight, double the price, and the jury's out on if they last twice as long. So, don't know. Personally, like I mentioned earlier, I'm just old school dinosaur, so I just go with what I know. And the lithium stuff, no doubt, I suppose it is better, but I'm only going off everyone's hearsay. Okay, here's a good question. Tint windows for heat or use blinds? Now, that's a good question, okay. So, I've touched upon this earlier. In our tiny homes, we design, like, our standard window size is proportionate to the room size, okay? Because I've been building for about 41, 42 years now. And over the time, there's when I was building houses and units, there's a certain size that you've got to provide in windows, a combination of ventilation and a combination of light. So what we do in our tiny homes is we build proportionate size windows to suit the room size. Okay, so with that comes, then you're not going to lose a heap of heat out of your windows. However, double glazed windows, to me, doubles the weight of your windows, doubles the price of your windows, and doesn't double their value, okay? So I think, personally, they're overrated, the double glazed windows. I would, personally, what we recommend to our clients is that, going for smart glass, okay? So it doesn't double the weight of your windows. It's an actually insulated glass. It gives you around about 80% of the value of a double glazed window. So personally, and it's only half the price. So I reckon that's the way to go personally. From there, smart glass. A lot of people don't like putting curtains and stuff on because they want to look outside all the time. Depends if you're in a high visibility area. People obviously put curtains on, so you're not worried about people looking in at you while you're getting, at night time and stuff. But if you're out in the bush, you just want to leave the curtains open, but you want to maintain the heat in your home. I'd up it to the smart glass, which is the best value for money, question, because, I went crazy ordering windows. It's Henna. Henna, how you going? Yeah, like I said, the windows, you just got to do your homework, but ask me the question. When it comes time to build with Havenwood, I'll point you in the right direction, because it's no skin off my nose. I'd rather give people the right advice with the experience that I've had on the best, to get the best result and the best value for money, because that's what it's all about. But what I can say, it's all well and good to go for these massive windows and heaps of glass, but the practicality of this living in a fishbowl, it just doesn't cut it, especially if you're going off-grid, okay, because your air conditioner, your solar package is not going to keep up. You've got to be sitting outside all the time. It's going to be too hot. It's going to be a hot box, So, mate, with your glass and your glazing and that, don't go overboard. If you want to look at the view, walk outside, So, it's just crazy, I reckon, when I see these homes with these massive glass windows. And, mate, look great for a show home, but all of our homes are designed practically as if we were going to live in it. And Shani, when she does the design of our homes in the layouts and the planning, we make it comfortable, so it just makes sense, So, like I said, just be careful with your windows. You can really blow your budget and end up with a home that just doesn't give you that thermal comfort that you've had, Henna, yeah. Anyway, we'll have to talk more about your Henna. Make sure you come and see. Okay, now listen, in saying that, we provide, in some of our homes, we've got 3.6 metre stacker doors. But I cover those with a massive awning. Okay, so I've got sun protection over the top of your windows. So if you've got windows each end, we've got to have some sort of covering over that windows. And you can actually put, we can do those with the little awnings, little fold-out awnings. So once we get into the site, we can flick them out. So you got that. The objective is just to block that massive, like middle of the day sunlight in summer, so you're not getting smashed with the sunlight in your home. And it's no good. The trouble with curtains, they're on the inside of your tiny home. The glass is on the outside of your curtain. Okay, so the heat's already in your home. Yes, you're deflecting the main sunlight smashing you, but what that means, if you're relying upon curtains to try to dull the sun coming in, the heat's already in your home, so the curtains are only going to work so good for a short period of time, okay? So to me, the outside deflection is by far the best way to go. And like I said, we cover that when we do our massive stack of doors. We've got an awning roof over the top, block out the crust of the sunlight, and it's not until, depending on the orientation of the home, till 4 o'clock of an afternoon when the heat's gone out of the sun and it's not as bad, So really think about your window orientation and where they're going to be, so you don't get smashed. Now, okay, I'm looking at ordering one of your tiny homes next year. What sort of time frame should I allow? Okay, at the moment, I think we're out to about February for our build start dates, February, March next year. As mentioned earlier, we're starting a new tiny about every 6 working days. So from there, once I give you a start date, it's approximately 3 months from there. It's always a bedlam, a bit hectic around that Christmas period at the moment. Like we've got tiny houses going through with pre-ordered kitchens, but some of the tinies, I'm not getting kitchens to the other side of Christmas, which is a real pain. But the kitchen company closes down for 2 weeks, and it's just bedlam. Everyone wants everything done before Christmas. It's like D-Day. It's the end of the world at Christmas, so everyone's got to be done. So we do our best, but we're still relying upon our contractors. Okay, so I reckon at this stage, if you're looking, well, like I said, once I give you a start date, 3 months from there, our delivery date's within QE from there, and that's actually, in most cases, we're quicker than that. But I think you want to allow plenty of time, whether it be our company or another company. Allow yourself plenty of breathing space. You don't want to rush it, and you don't want to be screaming. That's why I give people start dates, because because I am relying upon contractors sometimes and suppliers. I don't want to let anyone down, so we'll give you a start date. But what we've found in most cases, once we start your home and you come and do your progress inspections, it's all happening, and you just get excited, so which is awesome. Okay, number 12, can you give me some advice on how to approach land owners for rent? Yeah, okay, yeah, for sure. I've done quite a few of these now where we've actually organised some farms for our clients. So our clients have come and bought a tiny home from us, and then I've put them in contact with some farmers, local farmers that I know around here, and we've set up a mutual agreement with our tiny home clients will then deal directly with the farmer, and they organise just like a lease, like a rental agreement, like with when you're going to rent a unit, you got a rental agreement. Same thing with the farmers, Around the Jamberoo area, you're probably looking at about $200 a week rent, which is the going rate, because a lot of the farms around there, very high ticket farms, really multi-million-dollar farms. So hence, it's all sort of relatable. Up north, it's probably about $150 a week rent for the farmers. Now, in regards to advice, we've had a few of our clients do this now. They've actually done up an A4 flyer about themselves, okay? Photos of themselves, their family situation, their rental history, what they're looking at doing, and what that does. From there, once you do up that A4 flyer, either do it via a letterbox drop. Oh, and as Hannah's just put that into, I did a letterbox drop and found land yesterday. Awesome. That is so good, Hannah. Okay, that's one of our clients. Now, letterbox drops work perfect. A lot of farmers don't have letterboxes, and what I've recommended to them, if you do up this A4 flyer, whether you drop it in a letterbox or jump on the local Google page. So whatever area you're looking at, find a town. I want to move out to Mudgee. Find the local Google page at Mudgee. Set up that flyer on the Google page. Man, and honestly, we've had some of our clients, they've come to us, all of a sudden they've had a dozen farmers say, yeah, come and stay at my place. And they've actually gone and had a choice of where they could go, which is absolutely awesome. Because for a farmer to get $150 a week rent in his hand, that's like raising 20 cattle for 2 years. So for a farmer, mate, this is money in the bank. It's bread and butter. That means the farmer can stay on his farm, and the client's got somewhere to live at an affordable price. Hey, it works for everyone. It's good all around. So I think it's an absolute awesome situation. Yeah. So A4 flyer, sell yourself. This is what I am. Here's my photo. Here's my family. Here's my rental history. This is what we want to do. But start off with the bucks, man, because money talks. As soon as you start letting people know that you're prepared to pay, they're prepared to listen, you know. So, Hannah, yeah, that's exactly what Hannah did. I'm just reading here. Within 3 days, she found a property. Wow. Congratulations. That is awesome. So, yeah, that's one of our clients. Put some flyers out. 3 days later, bam, got herself a property. But you know what I love about this? I love it, and I've spoken about this before, right? You know, at the end of the day, dreams are free, right? If you've got the tiny house in your heart and you want to move into a tiny house and you want to live this lifestyle, you need to press the button. Because if you don't press the button, it's never going to happen, and you're never going to make the effort of actually going and finding a property and whatnot. What our clients are doing, and we've had couples come to us and think, you know what? I love this whole scene. I've got a property locally. I've got this mortgage and rah. I'm done with the mortgage. I'm getting to that retirement age, and what am I going to do? How am I going to keep paying the mortgage, you know? So what they've done, they've come to us. They said, Rick, we're doing it. They've just ordered their tiny home. Bam, within a month, found a property. Mate, happy days. But they've made that leap of faith, I guess you could say. Leap of faith. Jumped on the bandwagon, and the properties, if you build it, they will come. Love that movie. Field of Dreams, Kevin Costner. I love that show. Okay, what else have we got here? So yeah, a bit of advice here, but just, hey, press the button, man. Make it happen. Like, you only live once. Like, here on this physical earth, you live once. Go for it, man. Like, make it happen. Just press the button. Love it. Number 13, are your homes good for snow areas? In actual fact, we've got a few homes that are going through right now under construction, going into the snowy mountains. A couple of things that have come into play there. Obviously, it's very cold. Okay, so what we've done is up the ante when it comes to the actual insulation of the homes. As you're aware, all of our homes are built from 75mm refrigeration panels. So it's walls and roof. So that's the best insulation you can get. Second to none. That's why they build cool rooms from the refrigeration panel, you know. So, but what we've done with those homes, we've upped the ante. We've actually put 50mm Bondor, so refrigeration panel, on the floor as well. So that forms, that goes straight on top of the trailer, okay. So rather than our 15mm ply and just normal 4mm insulation, we've upped it to the 50mm insulation. So there's two options. You can either go for the 50mm paneling on the floor with the 100% waterproof vinyl planks, or we do a 2 sandwich panel of our 4mm insulation, so which has the same criteria. So which is awesome, you know. Got another question here from Joanna Bendigo. I read a person that wanted to live in a tiny, so they put it in their backyard and rented their... Oh, see more. Press more. Hope I don't wreck this. Oh, what's going on? I can't read the rest of the question. And rented their house out. Yeah, great idea. I've actually had a few of our clients doing that. What they're doing is buying a tiny from us, sticking it in their backyard, and they actually rented the house out, because in the area wherever they're at, they actually can get more money for renting the home than the tiny home. So they've actually moved into the tiny home and put the tenants in the actual home itself. Now, that does overcome a lot of council restrictions as well, because most councils will have, you can put a tiny home on your property, and unless it's a family member, you can't live in it full time. So if you're a family member, obviously you own the block of land, so you can live in that tiny home full time and then rent your house out. So great idea, Joanne. Joanne. That's exactly how the system works, and that way you're not treading on the toes of council, you know. So great idea. Well, hey, listen, guys. I'm done for today, and oh my gosh, it's 5:20. I've been rattling on. I'm done for today, and thanks so much for joining us. Got a big week ahead, got a couple of deliveries happening this week. Weather's looking pretty sharp, so I was supposed to do them last week, but it was too wet. I've got a few roads to get built and whatnot, so that's all happening. So, yeah, do a couple of deliveries this week, so that'll be pretty flat out. And luckily they're only local ones, so that'll be great. There's no big trek involved. And but listen, for sure, Hannah, we'll see you next week. Come pop down for a visit, so we just get all your home all fine-tuned, eh? So we don't we get everything right for you. Now, listen, have a great week, and look forward to the week ahead, and yeah, just keep busy. Hooroo.